We found a gorgeous, gorgeous little troop sitting in the sun, and they all disappeared when we arrived, and then, as they realized we weren't about to try and eat them, they've all come out into this little patch of sun, and the entire troop is now grooming, doing a little bit of feeding, some playing, some general bonding, and having a good time. Now, Cedar Point, you ask a very good question about mongoose and whether they are related to meerkats. They are absolutely related to meerkats. They are part of the same family. That's the Hesperidae. Sorry, not the Hesperidae, the Herpestidae. That's their family. And a meerkat is a mongoose. So yes, very closely related indeed. But of course a surrogate or meerkat spends its time largely in the desert regions. And they don't spend the time in areas like this. They're very sweet. Ah, so lovely. And what we can hear above them is some calling from a grey go-away bird, and it almost sounds like an alarm. But although I'm interpreting it in that way, it's very clearly not being interpreted that way by these mongoose, who are not looking in the slightest bit alarmed by life. They're just cleaning each other. Now, although this cleaning looks very egalitarian and sort of friendly and pleasant, it is part of establishing what is a very strict dominance hierarchy, as it is in a wild dog pack. And so the grooming will have an element of aggression in it in some cases. In some cases it'll be toadying up to more dominant members. In others it will be establishing dominance over others. And there are tremendously complicated social arrangements being made and broken all the time within a troop like this. Mongoose are tremendously complicated from a social point of view. And I look at them yawning, that's just too hilarious. They keep the most civilized hours, I always say. They'll spend their mornings in the shade, and then they come into the sun late. They don't get up early at all. James, you're wondering about the size of a mongoose troop and if it can get big enough, or if there's a maximum size that it can get to before it becomes sort of detrimental to the troop's well-being. James, I imagine there is a maximum size. I don't know what that size is. I'll tell you exactly how big what the research says. But I think what you'll find is that their size, or the size of the troop, very much depends on the area that they're in. And by area, I largely mean, of course, the prey availability. So in areas where there is a greater prey density, you're going to find that they are far more, or far larger. The troops, I mean. How on earth can I not find dwarf mongoose here? There we go. Let's just see what here. It's just the measurements. I mean, I've seen up to sort of 25 in a troop here, maybe up to 30 sometimes. Daniel, in Scotland, you've made a small mistake there. You said, are these the smallest animals that we ever see on safari? No, they are not. They are the smallest carnivore that we ever see on safari. But we see smaller creatures like, bushveld gerbils, for example. Sometimes we see them. They are very small indeed, about half the size. But of course, when we talk about animals, we tend to sort of forget of course, that the little spider that Byron was looking at earlier is also an animal. And so the smallest animal that we see on drive are probably sometimes the sort of millimetre length spiders, the tiny little mites we might find on the back of a millipede, that sort of thing. They'd be much smaller. In terms of mammals, the smallest mammal we see is probably something like a bushveld gerbil. Seb, you see the white patch on the tree here?
Yes.
Just pop the camera on there. Look, isn't that cool? Now I think that's what Taylor had yesterday, and that's a common rough-scaled lizard, I think. And just as Taylor was saying yesterday, she was saying how difficult she found it to identify them because, you know, you study them and you don't see them much, and then you forget. And I think that's what that is. It's not impossible that it is a ornate rough-scaled lizard, but I think it's a... I'm going to go with common rough-scaled lizard. Now, these mongoose would devour that thing if they could see it. Now, it looks bigger on your screen than it actually is. It's probably only about an inch from the tip of the snout to the edge of to the beginning of the tail, and the tail then is a sort of that and a half again. So call it about 4 inches long, 3.5 to 4 inches long from tail to tip. And here come the mongoose. They're coming closer and closer to us. Now I've just looked at my magnificent mammal app. The troop size varies from 2 to 32. That's in the particular area that this person did their research. And I think 32 is probably around about the size that, the maximum size that you'd expect to see here. I think you'd really struggle to see a troop of more than 30 animals here. But 2 you'd find in much drier areas, much less prey-dense areas. This is a very prey-rich area for a little troop of mongoose. And of course they have such a Catholic diet, which means that, you know, they'll eat anything here. Ali, you're wondering about what predators the mongoose have. Well, that one is looking for predators as we speak. That is just the best. Ali, birds, snakes, leopards, wildcats, servals, I suppose even monitor lizards, very big monitor lizards. They've got lots of predators, and so they're very, very careful. I have seen them being eaten by wahlbergs, eagles, by small leopards, by owls, I've never seen a snake take one, but I imagine a python would easily devour one of these things. They, of course, in turn eat snakes themselves. But anything this size, I'm afraid, is going to be easy, or not easy pickings, but certainly on the menu for many other creatures. And now they will go off foraging because they're starting to get rather hot. Now, Christina, you're wondering how many babies they have. I think it's up to 10 or so, but I will tell you exactly. And it's only the alpha female which will produce babies. That's quite interesting. I'm just sort of skipping through here. It says mating rates are high with up to 50 mounts per hour during the peak of estrus. That's very interesting. They may copulate as many as 2,386 times before a litter is produced. That's quite spectacular. 2,386 times. That's very impressive. Mean litter size of only 3 animals. So the average litter size of only three babies. I've definitely seen bigger litter sizes than that. I would think probably up to about 10 though in this area. Right, apparently Byron has got something to show me. I'm not sure what it is.
It's a rubbing post, James. Now, we've just walked past a little mud wallow not too far behind me, and this is obviously a prominent stump that is just out in the open. And what it is used for, well, it's actually used by a number of animals, but what it's used for is a rubbing post. So what they do is the animals will wallow in the mud, then walk past this area and scrape up and rub against it. Often it helps get rid of the ticks and some of the other little creatures, and also just rubs off all that mud that sit on the animals. So this post, judging by its size, it will get used by a number of animals. So you have warthog, most likely all the animals that like to wallow. So warthog, buffalo, rhino especially, they'll come and rub up against something like this, but you can see it's very smooth. It's been smoothed down. And that's just a sign that this rubbing post has been used a lot, possibly even hippo. And I say hippo because there's hippo dung actually spread around here and over this rubbing post at the moment. So hippos probably just use this to mark its territory. There you can see all the hippo dung that's been sprayed out across the branch or across the stump and across the grass. So that's what that is. Oh, look at this. Hang on. Let's see if I can get this for you. Here we go. This looks almost like a little beetle of sorts. It looks oh, there it goes. It looked ladybug-like, but not the colors of a ladybug. So just a small little beetle, but beautiful little pitch black beetle. It was just crawling around this rubbing post, but it flew off. So you could see how clearly this rubbing post was used. It's always nice to see signs like this, especially from a mud wallow. Close to a mud wallow, you can see it would have been used a lot in the summer, but it doesn't look like it's been used fairly recently. You'd often see perhaps fresh mud that has been scraped off and left on that rubbing post. Now, while I've been walking, I was mentioning earlier about the sounds that we can hear, and I can hear the ground hornbills again in the distance, but they sound like they are right up in the east at the moment. So, I don't know if it's the same group that we get out on quarantine, those clearings close to camp. Not sure if it's the same group, possibly. But actually, now that I think about it, we haven't seen those ones out on the clearings for the last day or two. So they might have another little nest somewhere, or other trees that they roost in. It all depends. They do like the clearings where there are big trees that they can stay in for the night. And we'll see if they do come back. Hopefully they do. It's always nice to see the ground hornbills. Alright, I'm going to move through this thicker area, as you can see up ahead. And let's head back to Taylor and find out where she is at the moment.
Well, we have left... Oh, hello, Impala. Huh. That looks like an old boy who just decided to pop through. Quite nice, isn't she? You never know what you're going to see next. But we have left Hosanna and the Mongoose. Hosanna's fast asleep in the shade of the tree. Still up inside of it, so I thought that we would just let him enjoy himself and have a relaxing morning. There are one or two other guides who will be popping through, so if anything does develop, they will be sure to let us know and we can head back that way. But what we are going to do now is, I don't know if anybody's gone and investigated this western corner, so I thought that we would just come and drive around on Impala Plains Road and sort of zigzag around here and see if there's anything interesting, because every now and then this corner can be quite productive. We also don't know where the wild dogs have gone. They could be anywhere, and well, as you've seen it, they've doubled back many on many different occasions. Hang on, wait, what do we have here? Whose footprints have been left in the soft sand? Hyena. I was hoping it was going to be a leopard or lioness track, but it is not. It is just a hyena that came running down this way. It looks like there have been many vehicles driving over the top of it, so it would have been from much earlier today. Should be a little bit not too unusual, but it'd be special sighting to see a hyena out now at this time of the day. Normally they are resting up, just as the big cats do. It's actually one of my favorite things to see is wild dogs and hyenas when they're resting during the day. Like I've said before, they love to sit in mud wallows or in dams to keep nice and cool, but I think it would be a little bit chilly this morning to be sitting in some water. But hopefully we're going to find something exciting. Now they recently graded this road as well, so it is nice and soft, which is really cool. So we will be able to see tracks quite easily, which helps us a huge amount. But we got so distracted this morning, of course, with the wonderful sighting we were having with all the animals down at the dam. I think we all forgot to come and do our little boundary patrol. We will just check and hopefully we'll find something along the lines around here. Maybe a giraffe. I'd actually like to see some elephants or a buffalo. Haven't seen a buffalo for quite some time. Elephants have been absent now for about 2 days. So we're all starting to get a little bit grumpy because we haven't had our elephant fix. So hopefully that will of course all change maybe this afternoon. I suspect that we're going to have a nice warm day. And maybe they do make their returns to the northern Sabi Sand. But we'll keep an eye out. Also, I have to tell you, why I like checking around here in this western corner is because every time I've seen Daryl the elephant, my favorite elephant in the whole wide world, the one with the Snapchat sign, it looks like a Snapchat sign, the ghost, or a bell, he always seems to be around here too. Now, Amy, you've said that you'd also like to see elephants this morning. Well, Amy, as soon as I pick up on one fresh elephant footprint or any evidence that a group of elephants or an individual bull has been moving around, I'm going to track it down or track them down. And hopefully we'll be able to have an elephant morning as well. Though we've had quite a bit of luck already. I was saying how my luck unfortunately hasn't been too wonderful. And well, this morning it seems to be changing, which is really, really good. I think it's about time. I think I've been pretty good with being able to make. So let's have a look. What do you think, Senzo? Do you think we should go all the way down to the gate? Or should we take Impala Plains Road now? Impala Plains, okay, right. Senzo is going to be guiding us this morning, so he says that we should go down this way. So we'll take Impala Plains now. And there's some nice open areas. Of course, we might start to see the warthogs coming out too. Maybe a few wildebeest, or even some zebra. It'd be nice to see a couple of stripes too this morning. Oh, the tractors have been hard at work, which is really, really great. Well, we're going to keep on searching and hopefully we're going to find something else that's magical. James is still bumbling about. He had Mongoose earlier. I wonder what he's going to show you next.
Yes, bumbling about. We go to Chitwa and see what's happening there. I don't know if you've had the updates or not, but there have been lions on Buffelshoek, lions on Torchwood, and there have been, well, as we know, other leopards on Torchwood as well. But what there has not been in my ear today, or over the last few days, is any word of young Shongalai and where she is. So we always, of course, are a little bit panicked when we don't see them for a little while, especially given that their mother has disappeared without a trace. Which we don't want to talk about, of course. But one day we're going to have to talk about it, I suppose. Right, we're at Twin Dams. Let's see what there is over here, either in the dam or out of it. Not a lot at the moment. And I wonder if that hippopotamus from here hasn't moved into Buffelshoek Dam. And maybe that's why they're full there. Let's go up onto the wall. We'll have a scan about the place and see what is going on. Now, one of the things that Byron likes to do on drive, of course, is to stop halfway through and have himself some coffee, which of course is a very good idea. And unfortunately I have not brought myself anything to drink, but I will tell you that there are some guests not too far from here having their coffee. We won't put the camera on them, but their guide has had exactly the same idea that I would have. Let's just have a look here. The surface looks pretty unbroken to me. So I don't think there's going to be... I think that hippo's moved. I think he's gone off to Bivelshoek Dam. And we're just going to sit here for a few minutes and just listen carefully. Oh, I have spotted a nasty bird. Just if you follow over the top of my finger into that large tree there, you can see the big Balanites tree, Seb. There. There.
Yeah, I've got
You got it there.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Oh wow. What have we got there? Red seer. Red feet. I think that is a dark chanting goshawk, everybody. That is quite special. Let's see if we can't get another view of it. And you can see the drongos maybe, or you can hear them going crazy. They're trying to bomb it and get it out of there. No birds like to have a predator like that around. It's going to creep. There it is. It's on the same bush, on the top of the bush. I'm going to creep slowly forward and just see if we can't get a clear view. You've got to be so patient there. It's on the top of the same bush there, Seb. It is a dark chanting goshawk. Can you see it there? And just go, yeah, there we go. How quick it's up in the tree next to it. So obviously got something it wants to get in there. Now Geeky Beth, you're wondering if all the birds that we're seeing at the moment are going to stay for the winter time, Seb. It's just on the edge of the tree. So I'm just going to ease past this next bush. Geeky Beth, 90% of the birds that are going to migrate have now left us. And so yes, they will be here for the winter. Certainly this dark chanting goshawk, of which we're about to get the most amazing view I've ever had of one. You see it there? Right at the edge of the tree here, Seb. They're going to stay. All the drongos, all the hornbills, they'll all be here. Can you hear it's actually calling? That is a wonderful, wonderful sighting, everybody. That's not a common sighting to have. That really is very, very cool. And you can hear the drongos going ballistic around it. And the hornbills. Drongos just will not tolerate predators. And they're fearless, completely fearless. Very special. Now, they will eat. Are you still there?
Yeah, wrong branch.
They will eat things like, well, oh, there it goes. They'll eat small mammals and reptiles. Where did he go? Did you see?
No, over the dam.
Over the dam and gone.
Drongos were bombing him.
Oh, there he goes. He's gone onto the top of a tree there. Let's just quickly go back. Get a last view of him. Oh, Starlight, you say bird number 77. It's a good one, that. Remember bird 77? It's a good bird to get. I've not seen them often here. Right at the very top of that jackalberry tree there, Seb.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to quickly check its diet. Because its diet, I mean, it must be slightly different from these other things, surely. Yeah, small mammals and birds up to the size of young guinea fowl, francolins and hornbills, also snakes, lizards and insects. Basically, anything meaty that it can catch. And let's have a listen to its call, which I think will be very pretty. Yes. I'm not sure I'd describe it as chanting, but yes. And look at the drongo sitting next to it, fearless, almost daring it to do anything. And they're shouting at it all the time. They're going, "Quack, quack, quack." And every so often they'll try and bully it away. Now just sit there and watch it. It would eat one of them if it could catch one, but they're so quick. It is wonderful. And you can hear how the morning has really become quite silent compared with the sunrise that we had when we showed you the lovely dawn chorus. That I think was pretty loud for a, well, I mean, semi-winter dawn chorus. We're almost into the winter proper now. Very nice. Which I think we'll move on to Chitwa Dam now, or Chitwa generally, general Chitwa area. I'm going to take my jacket off. It's getting quite nice and warm. There we go. On we go. Alrighty, Byron, while we make our way onto the road down here, has got a piece of, I think, the most beautiful part of our wilderness.
Some flowers, James, yes. I'm glad you got to see that dark chanting goshawk. I can't remember when last I saw one out here. So that's quite nice. And we have got the beautiful pinkish purple flowers of the devil's thorn. And there are plenty of them out here at the moment in this little spot. So nice to see them. And again, with all this moisture and this wonderful light, it's really lovely to see these flowers. A lovely view of them. And devil's thorn. A lot of flies around at the moment now, and it is warming up. So just as well we decided not to bring our jerseys with this morning, because it would be quite hot already, having to carry them around. Oh, so there we go, and you can actually see there's a lovely little section of them all over here. Look at all these flowers around this little area, or from the devil's thorn. And it is a creeper of sorts, so it grows across the ground, and kind of with these long, not quite vines, but tendrils that come out. You can see, look at that, you see, and then it'll grow across the ground and cover an area. That's the devil's thorn. Oh, I can actually, you know what, I've just touched it, and I can feel the liquid, almost soap-like texture from the devil's thorn. A lot of you may have seen it already with Steph and some of the other guides, and it is used as a soapy substance with a lot of the locals. But I could just, by touching it, because of all the moisture around at the moment, I've got a little bit of that on my fingers, and it is said to be an antiseptic. White Lady Owen, you said it's very beautiful, and it is indeed a beautiful flower. So nice to see them. Let's see what else we can find, shall we? Mrs. Zero, I'm not sure if that is poisonous to any animals. I've never seen any animals feeding on that devil's thorn. So I'm not sure if it has got a bit of, because of all the uses that it has, it's highly unlikely that it's toxic, so I don't think so. But I've never seen anything actually feeding on it, so I wonder, I'm not sure, I'm trying to think. off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that's actually fed or that I've seen feeding on the devil's thorn. I'm not sure on the flowers. I can just see two lilac-breasted rollers busy chasing one another around. They're flying over there. They go. They're just flying off. Can you get them there, folks? Oh, it's difficult on bushwalk to try and get the birds flying. Now, this is often the time of the morning where we would have our coffee normally, and I know James said he wished he had a cup of coffee. James, I think when I'm on bushwalk, maybe we need to negotiate, and you can use my thermos for coffee. I'm willing to do that for you, and we'll negotiate a price.
If he sets up a coffee station for us halfway through walk?
If he sets up a coffee station halfway through walk, I think that's it, Fergs. Great idea. Because I must admit, I think that thermos, taking the thermos with me on the morning drives is a hit. All the cameramen seem to be wanting to drive with me now.
Correct.
I haven't heard too much else at the moment in terms of animal activity around. I've been trying to look for some elephant. We've seen sign of elephant, but no actual fresh tracks. No fresh tracks. We did find something interesting earlier. Bit of fresh grass that had been regurgitated by a hippo. We could see the hippo tracks. Hippo obviously went off and fed somewhere and then moved back, and I think it's that hippo that is down in Twin Dams, which is basically just down there, not too far from here. So that hippo actually covered quite a long distance during the course of the evening feeding, but we saw a little patch where he regurgitated some grass, so maybe he ate something that didn't taste very good and just regurgitated a little section of what he fed on, and it was lying on the ground. But fresh tracks of that hippo from last night. He's most likely back in the dam, in the waterhole. Alright, well, I'm heading towards another little waterhole, so we'll see if there's perhaps some activity down there. But let's go back to Taylor and find out how her morning's going.
Sadly, we've not found any elephant tracks, which is one of the very many things that we set out to look for this morning. However, we are on Gowrie Main at the moment. There is another vehicle coming this way. There are many other vehicles coming this way, so I'm just going to pull off of the road. So what I thought we would do is I thought we would drive all the way down to Cheetah cut line. So I think go all the way down there and then start coming back west again. So that's going to be the goal this morning, and hopefully we'll be able to, of course, find something which will be really, really quite wonderful. Now there's many vehicles here. Everyone's just trying to say hello, and I think they wanted to have a chat. There we go, but they've all moved off now. We'll catch up with the other guides a little bit later. Let's go past them very quickly. So so that's our plan. I'm not sure which roads I'm going to take yet once I get onto Cheetah Cut Line. Maybe we'll go past Gwen's old den. That could be quite nice. And see if our friend Mr. Warthog is still living in there. That really big boar. He could be. It's still quite chilly, so I don't know if all the warthogs are going to be up just yet. I haven't seen any of them, and there are actually quite a few active termite mounds and burrows that are being utilized just off of the side of the road. We normally see them ducking into, but we haven't had any of that this morning just yet. And we're freezing now. Senzo, if I wish you could see what Senzo looks like. He's got the longest socks on, he's got gloves, he's got a beanie with a little pom-pom on top as well. He's frozen, but he does look very toasty though. And I'm sure that's what some of the animals wish they could do sometimes too. Put a scarf on, nice big coat. I'm still in shorts, I'm still a little bit bonkers, but that's okay. I think that's going to be our route. And then maybe we'll bypass sort of some of the dams as well. I'd love to try and check Treehouse Dam. Not now though, maybe in about half an hour, so that should be actually perfect. Maybe we can do that. Come along Mamba, that's a good idea. We'll do Mamba, and then we'll jump past Twin Dams again, Elephant Carcass, all the way towards Treehouse Dam, and then we'll eventually, when I start smelling happiness is cooking, then I know that it's time to go home. And then I'm sure that's what we'll probably do next. So that's, I think, the plan. How does that sound, Senzo? Good? Give me a thumbs up. That mean that it's okay. I haven't actually seen any predator tracks, besides hyena tracks, of course, which they normally are, going up and down the main roads. It's been fairly quiet. No lion tracks, no more leopard tracks. I thought on Triple M we were maybe going to see Shadow's footprints and her cubs as she moves her around, but that was not happening today. And all the other guides are racing back, so I'm actually going to change radio channels. I'm going to go to the Eastern channel now, and we'll see if there's anything exciting happening. Haven't got any wind. They found the dogs or lions, so perhaps they're having a quiet morning as well. Now we're going to keep going. We're going to race on over towards Cheetah cut line. James is sitting with some type of raptor.
There we are, everybody, a beautiful sighting of a fish eagle. The sound of a woodpecker in the background, and complete peace here at Chitwa Dam. Now what we're going to do is try and see if we can't sneak a little bit closer to that fish eagle. I think it might fly. There's a lot of great stuff here at the dam. So Seb, what I'll do is as soon as it looks like it's going to fly, I'll switch off. Okay. And then maybe we can catch him taking off. Well, this will be a lovely angle if we can get close to him. Get him at eye level. Can you see us, fish eagle? Of course you can, but we don't want you to fly away. Sneak.
Let's see if we make it to the other side.
Okay. Okay, this is great. How's that, Seb?
Yeah, perfect.
We'll stop there. This is gorgeous. And he's sitting hoping to catch himself a little bit of breakfast. Isn't that beautiful? And look how green the water is. And it's green like this simply because... Oh, there he goes! Oh, did he catch? No, he missed.
So. No, he's got nothing.
Poor effort. Oh wow, that was beautiful to watch. Hippos. Oh, that's really special. Let's go a little bit further up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everything in this dam is now I've just learned a new term, everybody. Everything is contre-jour, which means it is backlit. So difficult to film sight, but we'll get into a position where the fish eagle isn't quite so contre-jour. There he is. Is that alright, Seb? Can you we'll get a shot there? And I was saying it's so green like this. While you look at the fish eagle, as I've mentioned before, he's got his wings wet. You see that? So he has to dry them now. Oh, and a beautiful mist coming up. Beautiful mist coming up off the hippopotamus just below. Yes, David, it does look like a miniature golf course. Now, it's red like this because... not red, it's green like this, because red is not the same as green, is it? Simply because the algae has diffused over the surface of the water. And normally it sits in the northwest corner because the prevailing wind here is southeast, but we haven't had wind for the last 2 or 3 days. And so what's happened is that it is just pushed all the way up onto the western side of the dam wall here and is now spreading into the middle. So although it looks like there's more algae than normal, that is not in fact the case. I'm rather hoping that that hippopotamus is going to do the same thing it just did, which was blow some mist into the air just below.
Where is he?
He's right below the fish eagle there. And he stuck his head up and he went right below where our fish eagly friend is sitting. Let's just see if he does it again. Otherwise we'll move on and see if there's anything in the clearings there beyond where we're sitting now. Keith, you want to know these hippos are territorial. Keith, they're absolutely territorial. They're very territorial. They're especially territorial in the water. Outside of the water, not so much. So they tend to get along outside of the water. But the reason, or one of the reasons we find sort of very small pods of hippo and single animals like we do in places like Twin Dams, is because they're so territorial, and the big bulls will not tolerate young bulls in dams like this. So yes, they are absolutely territorial, especially in the water. And I can now smell breakfast being cooked in the Chitwa camp, which is delightful to the nose. Righty, I think we should move on from here. I don't think he's going to blow his mist anymore. We'll see what we can find in the clearings just beyond. We do have some nice Egyptian gooses on the front of the wall there. And some others shouting mindlessly. Here they come, Seb. Coming in like a bomber. Reminds me of the Dam Busters March. Not sure why. Something dam busting about an Egyptian goose. Very nice.
And landing.
And landing. And fighting. Beautiful. Ease our way past these gooses. Now they've all grown big over here. They've done very well. Well done. You've raised all of your babies. I'm sure you've lost a few, but you've done much better than the incompetent parents at Buffelshoek Dam. Yes. They're very contre jour. I think we might lose signal here, Elise. So let's head across to Byron, who is still wandering around as the McDonald's of the bush.
James, you can't use my jokes. It doesn't count. Now we are still walking around. I can hear a number of birds calling. I can hear there's a little bird, and I don't think we'll be able to see it. It's a tiny little bird called a long-billed crombeck. It's only about this big, small little bird, very, very short tail, almost no tail when you do see it. It's got a short tail. See if I can spot him. But a very distinct call. It sounds almost like tree tree, tree tree, tree tree. Something like that. That's the long-billed crombeck. I can hear it calling here, but I can't see it. A loud call for a little bird, which we are used to out here. A lot of the small little birds have got very, very loud calls. And then I could hear a barred owlet. A little barred owlet calling in the distance, right down at the back. Grr, 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 grr. Something like that. That's what it sounds like. That's a bit closer. The second one was better. So that's a barred owlet calling down in the drainage line behind us, quite far. So a lot of birds calling at the moment. It is starting to warm up. So I think these last few morning calls, early morning calls, birds are still very active, flying around, calling a lot. And then as it starts to warm up, the bird activity starts to drop a little bit. I saw a little bird fly. It's a little, looks like a brown crowned shagger. There it goes. Unfortunately, again, very, very quick. Little flutter of a shagger darting through the trees. That's typical shagger behavior. We have the black crowned shagger, who's got a really beautiful call. That's the black crowned shagger. Lovely little call, but very dark black head on the top. And then the brown crowned shagger, it looks very similar, almost identical, except for the brownish head. And that's got a very different sound, and James will do that one for you. So when you get to James, he will do the brown crowned shagger call. Alright, so James has found something he'd like to show you, but then don't forget to ask him for the brown crowned shagger call.
I think that is a wonderful shot selected by Seb there. That is fantastic. It is, of course, a waterbuck's snout. Hello, my dear. Isn't that cool? And she's got two offspring to the left-hand side. And while you look at them, I will attempt to do the brown-crowned shagger call as Byron has requested. It goes... Oh, that's very sad.
They didn't enjoy that call.
No. Yes, Miss Nyala, don't be nervous. It's just me. It just gives you an idea on how close to the edge of terror these creatures are living all the time. Alright. No, we can carry on. Let's just keep looking at this Nyala. Maybe we should... Yeah, let's just keep looking at her. I haven't seen much Nyala action of late. I'm just going to quickly update Peter on the radio. Peter, confirm those are guinea fowl. Let's move on. Peter was just hearing some guinea fowl alarm calling, and we had heard them earlier, and we found a large eagle. So he was hoping for a leopard. There is our lovely Nyala cow. You. Look how elegant she is as she moves. Fluffy tail, which, much like the kudu we saw earlier, will stick up and show white should she feel the need to run away from anything. Also, it's strange, like our wildebeest bull, that she should be all on her own. I suppose she's all on her own because we chased away her friends with my obviously very poor attempt at the brown-crowned shagger's call. On we go. The other small thing that we saw earlier was a little, we think it was a little sparrowhawk. And it was chasing, it just caught a lizard and was being chased by other things, but it, I'm afraid, disappeared. There is an interesting bird. It's not an amazing bird, I won't lie to you. On the road, Seb, in front of us.
Okay.
And the main reason to look at this bird is because its name is satisfying to say. It is a pipit. 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 And most likely a grass-felt pipit. The best way to tell, of course, is to look at the eye stripe and to note whether or not it is bobbing its tail up and down. And that pipit is very clearly bobbing its tail up and down. So allow me to just consult me book. I think it's a grass-felt pipit. Mountain pipit, plain-backed pipit, red-throated pipit, tree pipit, wood pipit, long-billed pipit, Kimberley pipit. None of the above. Where is this pipit? Oh, you know what? It's not called a grass-felt pipit anymore. It must be the plain-backed pipit, or the African pipit. I think it is probably the plain-backed pipit. I do like the term pipit. Oh, there's another one. There's another pipit on the road there. Seb, do you see the pipit? I'm just going to get my book out. Oh, and a lovely flower as well. I believe that Taylor has somehow managed to conjure Tingana out of Torchwood. That is amazing.
How exciting is this? Well, I didn't do anything. Taxon did all the hard work. I'm actually not sure who managed to find Tingana, but whoever it was, well done. But there he is, lurking in the long grass. There we go. Sorry, Taxon's just repositioning. Well, I think he's actually pulling out of the sighting now. But it's very, very difficult, of course, to see him in that long grass. Now, what is he? Maybe he's eating something. I can't quite see, and I just got the update. It does look like he's maybe eating something, doesn't it? Now, you saw him last night with Jamie all the way on Cheetah Plain, so he's walked quite far. We're near Gwari Pan at the moment. I wonder what he's got. Maybe something quite small. So he walked a fair amount of kilometers last night, but he does that. He has to, being the resident male in this area. He's got to make sure that he keeps checking constantly, making sure no young males are trying to come in and take his spot. Now I'm just trying to figure out what he's managed to catch himself. It could be anything. Could be a scrub hare, could be a bird. Maybe he's just licking his paws. But it's a little bit hard to see. As you can see, he's obviously disappeared. Let me see if I go forward. Reposition just very quickly and see if we can get a view. Maybe I can then shout over to Tax and ask if he is eating something or if he's just grooming himself. It looks like he's trying to get something out of his mouth. Let's see. Now, this grass is a lot taller than the grass that Hosanna was sitting in this morning. What has he got? Maybe he's just rolling in the grass. You see, I only just got here and I wasn't able to, of course, have a chat with Tax to find out. Hello, Sheila from San Francisco. Now, you're wondering, how do we tell the difference with all the leopards? Well, lots of experience, because as soon as you look at a leopard for the first time, it's virtually impossible to tell who it is. Most of the time, you can really only get if it's a male or a female. So, Sheila, there's quite a few different things that we can do out here in the bush. One of the most important things is, of course, a spot pattern, which we use for research purposes to identify the individual leopards. And so that's just above the whiskers. You'll see they've got lots and lots of spots. If he pulls his head out of the long grass, then we'll be able to see it. And you will use a ratio system. So we'll have the spots on the left-hand side of his face versus the spots on the right-hand side of his face. But also, a lot of these animals have got other unique markings. There's no two leopards that will have the same spot pattern. and I'm not even the spots on his face, I'm talking about all the rosettes on his body. And Tingana's got the most amazing feature. He has got a smiley face. So, for all of the regular viewers out there who perhaps have a beautiful screenshot of Tingana's smiley face that he has on his shoulder, that is in the form of his rosettes, please can you share it, #Safari Live, so that we can show everyone. But Sheila, there's other ways. They can have tatted ears, for example, like our old man Mvula. He's quite easy to spot. Just if you look straight at his ears, that's what I do every time I see him, and I go, yep, they've been torn to bits and bitten by flies and that type of thing. And then, well, so he wasn't eating anything, he was just grooming himself. He's a big boy. But yes, there's many different ways. Scars, for instance, look at Mfumo. If we don't just talk about leopards, we talk about lions as well. He's all scarred up on his face. So they've all got these individual markings. But the more and more you encounter them and you spend time with them, you start to notice certain sort of features. And that's an easy way. But it is tough. So I get confused all the time. But luckily I have all of you who are watching to help me out when it comes to trying to identify these leopards. But he's a beautiful boy. He's got a very big dewlap. And I must tell you, Tingana was actually a hot topic of discussion last night. I was saying that in the 9 months that I've been here at Wild Earth, I cannot believe how much he has actually grown. He's always been a big leopard, but now, my goodness, those shoulders, his neck, it seems as though he's almost just doubled in size. And he is in the prime of his life now. I think he's about almost 10, somewhere around there. Now, this is going to be very tricky because the area that Tingana is disappearing down into, well, I've driven many times. I've also walked in here. If you remember when we had Boris, the crocodile, he was down in this drainage system. It's very difficult to navigate. It's not just one drainage system. It's lots and lots of almost eroded gullies, which makes it quite difficult for us. Let's see if we can get another view. He's gone that way, and I know there's a spot down here on the right where I think we'll be able to poke our noses through. It's going to entail a bit of off-roading, but let's go and have a bit of fun. Haven't done any off-roading this morning, or very little with Hosanna. So I think we go in here. I'm just trying to remember the last time that I walked in here. And that's also what's so important about walking on the properties, is that you're able to sort of get an idea of the sort of landscape and all the vegetation, where you can and where you shouldn't drive. Let's see. I think we could get a view here. Let's quickly see. I think we might get, there he is. Let's get one quick view of him in case this could be the last one that we have. It's just down there. You can see him just disappearing into the drainage. But I'm going to keep following. I'm going to try my absolute best. Maybe he's going to settle down now because it's starting to get quite warm. Byron is, of course, still on bushwalk. Let's go and see what else he's got up his sleeve.
So just walking around now. I've seen some hornbills around, and a lot of different bird species. There's also, bless you Herbert, there's also a waterbuck walking just up to the termite mound. Look at that. Oh, what a beautiful view. He's just gone up there, maybe to get a better view of us. Nice big waterbuck male. Wow, that's a beautiful pose. Really lovely. Look at that, just watching us. I can hear lilac-breasted roller flying again, and it may even display, and unfortunately we can't show it to you. It's a bit far. Just often when they fly around and they do that call, that very harsh call, usually the lilac-breasted roller does do a display where they basically stop flapping their wings and they do these loops, so 2 or 3 little loops. And then as they come down on the third one, like a fighter plane, they come down like this. That's the lilac-breasted roller. There it is. Let's see, I wonder if it's going to do it. There are 2 of them chasing one another. That's all it is. It's very difficult. I don't think we'll be able to get them on camera. They were quite high up at the moment, but they were just chasing each other. So we'll leave this waterbuck. We're not far from young Hosanna. We were thinking of maybe trying to view him on foot, but also because he's a young leopard, we don't want to chase him off the kill, I suppose. Have you got the roller? There we go. Well done, Fergs. Let's see. Not into. There we go. There we go. There's the second loop. And there it comes down. Look at that. Straight down. Cool. There we go. It's always nice to see. It's always great when you say something as a guide and it actually happens. It just gives you a little bit of credibility. All right. Well, let's head to old. Okay, well, I shouldn't call him old. Let's just cross to James and see what he's got.
Absolutely not call me old, and it's because I'm getting old, of course, that I find it so difficult to be told that I'm old, in the same way that I find it difficult to remind myself, of course, that I am in fact going bald. In fact, I have gone bald. It's very distressing. Right, here we have a very small community nest spider's web. And we've spoken quite a lot about spiders of late because there have been so many, but I can't remember seeing too many of these community ones for the last little while. And this is a very young community spider's web nest because it's not very large yet. And I was just going to see if I couldn't coax the spider out and then bring one to show you. There's one. Hang on a sec. Come here. Come here, you little blighter. And then I will return it, obviously, to its home. And of course, to many people who are arachnophobic, the thought of sticking your hand into a web full of spiders will make you shake in your boots. No, this one's gone back inside. Anyway, I just love the way that the dew's been caught in the silk, and I'm most impressed that Taylor managed to find Tingana. That's wonderful. He's done quite a turnaround, you know. He's walked a long way since yesterday, and he's walked completely the opposite direction from where he was walking when we hoped to see him. Then I will also tell you that on this road here, I think there are tracks of a leopard, and I think that they are a young male, and I think Hosana came from this direction. And I think he came from this direction probably yesterday morning. Maybe, unless this is Tundi, but it looks like a young male. I'm not big enough for Hosana. It might just be Tundi and Tamba who were walking along here, but sometime probably in the last, more than 24 hours ago. So I'm not going to follow them. We're just on Chitwa, and you know, we're not going to go all the way to Cheetah Plains. We normally go to the dam, check the clearings, and then head across to Chitwa. I'm just going to explore this area for the next little while before we head back towards the camp. I've now lost my earpiece. There it is. I found it again. Fear not. And I'm now plugged in. Good. On we go. This is going to become a hotbed for buffalo, elephant, and all sorts, and other sort of bulk grazers as the season wears on. But at the moment, it's like a pantry that has yet to be tapped. There's so much grass here, there's so much biomass. It just feels like, it feels like a completely unutilized resource at the moment. There will be steenbok and little duiker and that sort of thing in amongst all of the bushes here. But I don't know if you've noticed how little we have seen of the steenbok and duiker, simply because the grass has been so long. Which is one of the reasons, of course, we haven't been having quite as many cat sightings as usual. Well, I say we. Obviously, Taylor's had 2 today, and we've had none. That's all right. It'll come back. It goes in cycles, I like to tell myself. Right, I don't know what Taylor's doing. I don't know if she's still with Tingana. I don't know if he's disappeared or not, but she'd like to tell you that herself.
Tingana has unfortunately given us the slip as he moved down into, well, many of these little drainage systems, and we've come a little bit further around. I'm just keeping an eye out down here on Quarry Pan Road, because the road sort of does meander around, and we're actually quite close to this drainage system. You can just sort of see down here, and that's what he was walking through. He was marking his territory. So I'm hoping... This is the other thing, it's a bit difficult, and of course with animals you take a big gamble. He's either going to carry on and mark, which means that he'll come along here, or he's going to find himself a nice spot along the way that's perhaps got enough shade, because like I said, it is warming up. I think it's time we take the scarf off. We can do that. We'll remove this too, and I hope that's what Tingana doesn't sit down and rest for the day, but he does have a tendency to do that, as would any leopard. But yes, I haven't heard any birds alarming either. That was something definitely that I'm listening out for, and I apologize. I'm just making sure, because there's a couple of little gaps, and all I'm waiting to see is that tail pop up as he sprays his urine against a tree. But I haven't seen that just yet. No birds alarming. And there are lots and lots of different birds out here this morning. You can have a little listen. Black-headed orioles calling, a couple of the smaller robins also still chatting away, but nothing screaming there's a leopard walking through the drainage line. Very, very subtle sort of calls. Okay, I think let's carry on. Well, at least we got a view, and maybe it'll be something for the bushwalk team this afternoon to come and try and have a look for. Oh. Right, and well, speaking of the bushwalk team, we've got ourselves into a little bit of a pickle that will take some serious manoeuvring. Let's go back to Byron.
We've got some impala ratting at the moment just behind me. Can you hear that grunt? Very strange grunting sound by the impala males. But they're running around and snorting at one another just through there. Can't see them now, but there's also a party of magpie shrikes. That's the long-tailed shrike, or the magpie shrikes. There's a whole bunch of them in the trees to the back, but we can't see them actually. You can just hear them calling. There's some starlings flying in there too. Actually, there they are, just on the edge of that branch. At the bottom of the back tree. Can you see them there, Fergs? Yeah. There we go. Fergs has got them. The magpie shrikes with those long tails. Now, was it Amayo asked Amayo what types of birds we see on bushwalk. Well, we see all the birds that you would see on the vehicle. It's just a little bit difficult to get closer to them or to get them on camera, because a lot of them fly away from us a lot quicker than they do when the vehicles pass by. But those are the magpie shrikes that we can see, and I've heard, as I said, I can hear them calling constantly at the moment. Quite a loud sound, but we'll see all the different birds. We just need to look a little bit harder, but birding's great while walking around, and that's why, again, you need a good pair of binoculars, and you'll be able to do a lot of birding. And also, if you see animals in the distance, it always helps. So always carry binoculars with you when you are on a bushwalk. Shall we make that tip of the day? I think so. I mean, I've said, always take binoculars with you on safari, but if you're ever going to be doing a bushwalk, then definitely... there's another one sitting up on the branch there, a little magpie shrike. So, as I said, I think tip of the day is when you're doing a bushwalk. Cameras, I must be honest, and it's not really a great photographic opportunity. Bushwalk, you might be able to photograph scenery and so on, but you can do that from a vehicle. So I wouldn't worry too much about taking big cameras and that with you on a walk. That's what the vehicles are for. The vehicles are there so you can take great pictures of animals and scenery and everything, and get a bit closer to the animals, and also a bit more stability in the vehicle. But a bushwalk, very important to have binoculars with you. So that is crucial. Camera, not so much. I would say that would be my recommendation. Like I say, if you've got a little point and shoot, little point and shoot camera, then that is fine. You know, if you just want a few pictures of you on the walk itself. But some people try and take big cameras. It doesn't really work, and it's not like you're really going to get any really great images. So more rutting impala behind us. Fergs, what would you do if I just all of a sudden decided to run? And say there was a buffalo coming? What would you do? Would you get a fright?
I'd ride it.
Just roll with the punches. This is interesting. Have a look at this. Now I wonder what this is from. These are all ants, also ants, but this is amazing. They've almost made a tunnel-like path. Do you see, notice how there's actually an indentation in the sand, but then they go underground in certain sections, so they've made tunnels, but this crosses the road too. Now that's interesting. So also just a different species of ant. We saw those red ants this morning. These are different smaller ants, but they are black. So very different. Interesting how I've never seen them actually make a path halfway under the ground and halfway above the ground, or open and some is closed. That's interesting. Nice to see different types of ants and their pathways when they are looking for food, and that I do think is possibly a food tunnel, trying to go off and forage for food and then head back to the colony. Now from the ants, I think let's head to Spider-Man. I know he was finding spiders earlier again. Let's see what he's got this time.
No spiders, everybody. What I've been thinking as we're driving through this area that I've never been through before is two things. Firstly, how intimidating it must have been to come into an area like this for the very first time. Well, whenever it was that people first came into this area, and there's some debate over that. It's thick. You know that there are creatures lurking around behind bushes, various stages. So it must have been quite nerve-wracking, especially if you hadn't grown up in the area. So when I think about the excuse me, settlers and transport riders that used to come through here, I think they must have been fairly terrifying on their first trips. And then the other thing I'm thinking is that it's so dense that the soil type must be different from that it is on Djuma, and I think it is. And I also think that it's indicated by the termite mounds, which tend to be taller basically and rounder. And if you're going to see an animal in an area like this, that's where you're going to find it. It's going to be sitting on a termite mound or in a tree, because otherwise it's not going to be able to see more than 2 feet in front of itself. And that's why there are no impala or wildebeest or anything like that around here. There will be duiker and steenbok. They're used to living in these sorts of conditions. Here's one of the termite mounds. That's what I'm talking about. Otherwise, it's just birds that I can hear foraging around in the grass, and a woodpecker knocking about in the tree. It's very attractive, but it is very different. And like I say, it just feels so thick with biomass. Eventually, it must be consumed by animals. Let's see if we can find this woodpecker up ahead. I think it's on this balanites tree, on this torchwood. Ease through here. And let's see if we can hear it again. Naturally it has ceased. No? I can hear it. It's on the apple leaf in front now, I think. think it's on here. Come on, Woodpecker, don't let me down. Not Apple-leaf, that's the marula. Right, everyone listen very carefully. There it is.
You see it?
Yeah. It's just the two of them, the pair. They're there. They're in there on this fallen down marula.
Oh, okay.
There.
Grab the tree.
Flew into the tree there. It's a bearded woodpecker. Female bearded woodpecker, hopefully going to pop up into the light.
She's here somewhere.
She's up there, yeah. There she is.
Yeah.
There we go. And you can hear the male is around somewhere as well. The male is on the fallen bush below. I can still see the female up top there, Seb, if you want. On the bottom, yeah. I'll keep an eye out for the male. Keep going up a bit, up.
Yeah.
Are you?
Problem with that light.
Oh, you've trouble with the light. Let me move it.
Thank you. Oh.
Oh, you irritating bird. There's the male. Straight in front of us. Can you see it there? Just in amongst the bushes there. If you zoom in straight there. Up a bit. Yeah, oh no, just right to the back. It's still there. Just see it moving where the green starts. But now I can't see the screen. Because the light's on it. It's in there, yeah. Just there, you can hear it.
Get my eyes on him.
I can't see him anymore. Oh, he's gone. He's gone to the same place that the female was just when we saw her.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's wonderful. Isn't that great? Violet, you say are these woodpeckers closely related to the ones that you have in the US? And the answer, Violet, is yes, they are. But you have a greater diversity of them there in the US. You know, we apparently have got a fairly poor diversity, and ours are much smaller. Look at him picking away. That's wonderful to see. This is the biggest one we get here, and so nothing like the size of some of the US woodpeckers that you get, but they are related. Same mechanism of drilling away the bark and drilling into wood. Same way that the tongue is attached to the way at the back of the skull, and same way, of course, that the brain is protected by that spongy material, and also you can see very nicely there the way his tail is bracing him. Ah, this is just brilliant. Of course, you know, as I've said to you before, there he goes. No, he's gone. That was wonderful. Were you and I to sort of attach a traffic cone to the front of our faces and bash our heads against something like that, we'd very, very quickly become fairly concussed. That was beautiful, fantastic sighting of a bearded woodpecker, well worth the trauma of searching for it. We'll continue our little exploration here of Chitwa. I think I may have just spotted a brown-crowned chagra. I can hear one calling. Let me just turn off. There's a whole bird party going on here. There are lots of birds. There's a drongo straight in front of us on the tree. That's him. You've got him. Middle of frame. That's him.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And then there are some rattling sesticlers calling. but it was the brown-crowned chagra that really got my attention. Then there's a small flock. If you go to the... you see this little brown bird there, Seb? Just there, just flown.
Yeah.
See if you can get him up a bit. He's in there. I think he's just left us. That looked like a sort of mixed flock of widers, maybe female widers. Let's go a little bit forward. I was rather hoping for the brown-crowned chagra of which Byron spoke earlier. Oh. And right in the middle of that tree is a hoopoe. Up a bit, right in the middle of the tree. Yeah, just zoom in there. You'll get him.
Yeah. Awesome.
Gorgeous sighting there of a hoopoe. And then while we're looking at these birds, D-Hugs, you're wondering what great sightings I've had of late that have not been live. I'm trying to think. There are red-billed quilias on the bushes below once we've had a look at the hoopoe. D-Hugs? I don't know. I'm trying to think. It was probably something on foot, I suspect. Oh, I'll tell you what it was. I know exactly what it was. We weren't live. It was two, actually, the same day. We had a sighting of... Oh, and there's a lizard on the tree here. See this tree here, Seb? In the shadows underneath the green. D-Hugs, we had a sighting of a rhino. It was the most wonderful sighting. I think that's the same species of lizard that we saw earlier, common rough-scaled lizard. We had a sighting of a rhino in the setting sun, that long grass just to the east of that big brown ivory tree. That was Ferguson, Herbert and I. And obviously we weren't allowed to show you that, so we didn't. And then just after that, in fact, it was the day after we'd seen that little leopard cub come hurtling out of the tree in front of us. But I think that rhino sighting that we had was just very special, because it had no idea that we were there. And unfortunately we couldn't show it to you, but it was very, very special indeed. This is known as the focus pull. What is the focus pull in French?
I actually have no idea. It's a term I learned in English, so...
Alrighty, we're going to head across to Taylor. She's going to tell you about her great sighting she had when she wasn't live.
Oh, well, James, I'm very excited that one of your favourite sightings was indeed that of a rhino, which is really cool. So, mine... No, that was a fail. I tried to shuffle myself around and then almost fell out of my seat. I think I've got so many. I really have been so lucky and seen so many amazing things while I haven't been on air or just in between drives. But I think one of my favourite ones was an unusual sighting, and I don't think I'll see anything like it again, was we just finished the show, and literally on the way back driving through quarantine, I think it was actually the same morning that we found that zebra that had been attacked by the lions, if you all remember that. It was just after that. We'd gone a little bit further along, and there was the big wildebeest, and he was marking his territories, doing his thing, and he walked sort of to the spot where all those crowned lapwings like to hang around, quite close to Inga's, where Jamie and Brent live. Soon I'm going to have to say used to live, when they both will. Brent's obviously in Kenya. And the next one of these hornbills came in, southern ground hornbills came and joined the sighting too. So we had southern ground hornbills, wildebeest, all standing within not even a couple of feet. They were so close to each other. And the funniest part of the whole thing was the crowned lapwings that came down and then started mobbing the southern ground hornbills. So that was probably one of my favourite sightings, just in terms of it being so rare, so many different animals in the space of a metre of each other, all interacting, which was really, really cool. I actually managed to get some great photos too, and like again, just something unusual, which was really, really nice. have, but we've had so many. We've been so fortunate with seeing takedowns of lions, especially in the winter months, and with them all coming down to drink at the pan at Weirtela Lodge. My goodness, I don't even think I can count on my hands anymore how many times. And you all remember, we start the afternoon safari and be like, oh, you won't believe what we saw during the middle of the day. All these types of things. So I think we're going to have a lot more to look forward to. And the caracal sighting, but that was live though. That was still one of my best sightings ever. Anyways, well, Byron, I suppose, has got to let you know about his favourite sighting. So let's go, well, back across to him.
Well, I think, Taylor, my favourite non-live sighting for the last little while, Seb and I were actually out on drive, and we got to see, well, actually we found leopard tracks, fresh leopard tracks, and I said, you know, these are definitely fresh, let's have a look where they go. Followed them for a little bit, they went down through a little dip, and then I said, these are definitely fresh, and then we heard guinea fowl alarm calling ahead. So I said, that's definitely, they've seen the leopard, let's go and have a look. Drove around, saw the guinea fowl in the tree, drove around the corner, and there were two leopards. It was Tandy and her cub walking in the road. And why I just enjoyed that so much was because it was from start to finish how we tracked a little bit, we heard alarm calls, and then drove up and found the leopards. And for me, that is always so rewarding. So that was very, very exciting. I think just recently, that would be my most favorite offline or non-live sighting, I think. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. What else have we seen recently? That's it. Well, hope you all enjoyed this morning. It's been quite entertaining, and there's been a lot going on. Some leopards and lions. Did they see the lions? I don't think they did see the lions this morning, but they were around.
Heard them calling.
We heard them calling, heard the callings, heard the lions, heard leopards. So we heard a lot of interesting animals this morning. We couldn't find elephant though, couldn't find buffalo. But we enjoyed our walk, our little bush walk. It was nice, some birding, which was great. And then don't forget, we again this afternoon for Safari Live, I'll probably be out in a vehicle with someone else. We are going to start looking for some breakfast fairly shortly, which is an important part of the day, as you all know. And I wonder, I have got something else I'd like to show you though quickly before we finish, and I think we've got about a minute or two left. 2 minutes, all right. So quickly follow me, everyone. This is something that we don't often see, but I figured why not? Let's break the rules a little bit and show you something interesting that you don't all get to see. Some beautiful acacia trees around here. However, if you come around the corner, you might spot the very rare final control. They all in there. So they're all busy working, all trying to work, and they did not expect that. Hello, ladies. There we go. So a little surprise for the end of the show. I'm probably going to get into a lot of trouble for that now, but yeah, see, they didn't expect that. They were very, very sneaky. You see, it's all about sneaking up on the wildlife out here. So that was great. So there we go. They're all working very hard in the final control. But I hope you've enjoyed this morning with us. So I know a big goodbye from Taylor and James and Senzo and Seb on the vehicles. And then, of course, thank you to the final control, the ladies, the voices in my head, all the questions that we start getting. But again, thank you so much for all your questions and your comments during this safari. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a little bit and maybe saw something different, something unique that you haven't seen before. But don't forget, we'll see you this afternoon on Safari Live. So from myself and Fergus, thank you very much, everyone, from the Bushwalk. And we'll see you all later. Have a wonderful day or evening, wherever you are. Goodbye, everyone.